is the Rangers Journal now.
Good evening and welcome to your Rangers Journal pre-match for Rangers v Panathinaikos. First competitive game of the season, which is always nice to be back, and good crowd here with me tonight as well. Jock, how are you feeling?
Anxious, nervous, excited, the typical roller coaster emotions that you sort of normally go through. And it's the first game of the season, and it's quite a big game as well. So a lot riding on it. Champions League money, potential transfers down the line. There's so much twists and turns with this fixture. To be had with it. So it's interesting. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I think there's maybe a wee bit of parallel from that season after we won 55, where, we kind of went into it and obviously didn't perform so well and it had a major impact. So, yeah, I totally get that. Tomo, how you doing, mate? Long time.
Yeah, been a little while. Cheers, Dave. Good to be on with you. I'm looking forward to it. New season. Let's be optimistic. New owners, new manager. Let's see what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Russell Martin's going to bring. And we've not really had much of a pre-season in terms of us being able to see the games. So other than the first one against Bruges, we've not really seen how we've really played. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, really.
I'm not sure you can say optimistic on a Rangers pod, mate, but other than that, totally agree. Look, let's just dive straight into it then. So, looking at the lineup, and thanks to Ross who put this one together for us. I'm not actually convinced there was all that many surprises in that starting 11. I think for me, probably the main one was the wings. Jock, is there anything there that kind of surprises you, or is that pretty much what you expected to see?
I think going on pre-season form and obviously what we know that Egeman and Dessers were late, and as Martin said in the presser earlier in the week and he said that last week as well, that these guys are late to the party in terms of training, so they're quite far behind the team in terms of fitness. So we're going to have to go with what's been working, and what, as you alluded to, it's what we haven't seen in terms of pre-season games. So obviously we haven't seen much of Rothwell. Wee bits of Arians. Curtis, again, interesting he's starting tonight. Big opportunity for the young lad. Delighted for him. I think going on the performance he put in against Club Bruges, he's earned that spot. Rightly so. And looking at the bench as well, it's good to see different names there. Something that I think last season we were just looking at the same players over and over again, hoping the same guys don't get injured because they sort of carried us through towards the end of the season. So good to see some fresh faces in there, and interesting to see how this new brand of football that he's bringing looks.
Totally agree, Jock. And Tomo, just coming to you, I mean, obviously we've spoken on Dow. It's a senior start for him in Europe. I think he had a few minutes here and there towards the end of the last campaign, but certainly a senior start for him in Europe. There is 3 other competitive debutants in there as well. Any concerns about how they'll kind of handle Ibrox, or you think they'll be well up to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fresh slate for everyone, isn't it? So, it doesn't surprise me seeing Dowell in there. I think he's had, from what we've read about pre-season, he's by all accounts had a good pre-season. For the new guys, this is what we've come to Rangers for these big games and the European nights. So I would hope that they're ready for it. So got no real concerns. Rothwell, he was at Leeds last season. They've got a big fanatic fan base, so absolutely no worries about them. Glad to see like Jock Curtis getting a start. That's really positive. Gives hope for some of the other younger players that if they put in the performances, they're going to get rewarded. And on the bench, Egeman and Dessers, again, maybe 20 years ago, we would have been just thrown straight in the team. But we know how it is with modern day football and the managing of minutes, etc. So it's no surprise really to see them on the bench. But good options to have later on if we need them. And again, Danilo, the last couple of games has really been he's been scoring goals, assisting. So absolutely no issues there from me.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Agreed. And I do think that's a really valid point about the pathway, especially with the B team being gone now. That pathway in the first team's crucial. And I think, like you said, the fact I kind of suspected it anyway because he'd had a lot of game time in the pre-season games. But the fact that Martin is willing to, put his trust in a young lad that hasn't started a European game before for one as big as this, it does speak well for their kind of hopes. Question from the comments, lads. I'll come to you first, Jock. Would you have started Gassama? Suppose obviously saying there, if you're chucking him on, then he's trying to get up to speed with an already in progress game. Whereas if you put him from the start, even if he could only give you that first half or maybe a wee bit of the second, would that be more beneficial for him? So would you agree with that, or do you think it's right that he stays on the bench?
I think it's right he stays on the bench because he's late into the setup and he's late into pre-season. Curtis has been there all pre-season, so he'll know his job. He'll know what Russell Martin's expecting of him. Martin said in his press conference about the guy that he's unpredictable, that he's something different. So that's obviously something we're going to utilise in the second half. Give him the 20 minutes, give him half an hour. Hopefully, he gets fans off their seats, and he can sort of use that time to showcase what we'll sign really. Because obviously, we've only seen the YouTube highlight reel, which is it's not bad, but we're just all itching to see him in a Rangers shirt. But I think we can wait 60 minutes. And then see how the game pans out with the formation and what we've been set up with first of all, and then we can utilise that unknown entity because we're all itching to see what it can do.
Yeah, totally agree, mate. Totally agree. Tomo, what's your thoughts? Were you expecting him to be thrown in, or like your previous about the sports science, did you always think that he was likely to kind of maybe get some minutes, but that'll be it?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with what Jock said. I don't think he was going to get just chucked in straight away. Again, Dowell has, by all accounts, played well during the games in pre-season. So, like Jock says, he's been playing a system. He knows what Russell Martin's expecting. Gassama has turned up a few weeks behind everyone. So, we can, in my opinion, we can wait 60 minutes and then, we might get a start next week in the second leg. So yeah, no issues with him starting on the bench. You've got to trust the manager.
That's it. And I said this on a pod the other week. You know what? Like, people are up in arms about Kieran Dowell starting, and I get it to an extent because he's not exactly had a storied career here so far. But Martin's not just going to chuck him in for bans. This. Let's be honest here. This is Martin's job that's on the line. If he fails, he loses his job. So, for me, I think you have to let him pick who he thinks is the best fit for his system, regardless of whether you like it or not, and then you judge him on the results of said system. Another one that I wanted to ask you about, and this is maybe a wee bit stereotypical, but I'll ask it anyway. Is this something that we need to be wary of, Jocks? Maybe the street smart side of the game where you're breaking up play, rolling a boot, trying to get full booked, etc.
Yeah, but it's classic European football, isn't it? As teams come up and if they know they're not going to get the fair share of the ball, or if they know they're going to be up against it, they start using the dark arts as what it's called really these days. And I think Martin alluded to that when he first came in the door in his press conference, and some of the stuff he's talking about whenever he left Southampton about his team need to be a wee bit more smarter and a wee bit more aggressive. So I wonder if they're going to try and take advantage of that aggressiveness that obviously we all want to see from our Rangers team, which is was going after players and showing a bit of grit and a bit of bite. So it's a double-edged sword. you also put a lot of emphasis on the referee in these kind of games as well, because as a continental referee, and you don't really know what kind of referee is going to turn up. As we've seen in the last couple of seasons in European games, we've had some absolute shockers, and we had last season's Kiev calamity. So, I mean, yeah, it's to be expected, but I don't know. The Greek football, not honestly, I'm a big expert in it, but from what you have seen, some of them can be quite hardy as well. They like a bit of scrap. So you just don't really know what sort of player is going to turn up. It takes a challenge as well to incite a game and get folk up for it. Challenges and stuff like that can change a game. Good game management. So hopefully we might see some of that on our side as well this season. As somebody hitting somebody and getting the crowd back on side if things aren't going our way. That kind of dark arts side as well is sort of smarter side of football that we've probably been lacking over the years.
Aye, I think that makes sense. I want to touch on the midfield. I think last season it's probably fair to say we were about a ball hair away from panic, because pretty much we had Dio and Raskin, and that was about it. I know obviously Barron was there, but he's probably a different kind of player. Doesn't give you the same thing those guys do. So, Tomo, are you quite happy that Rothwell is kind of going to have a major impact on that he's maybe the missing piece of the jigsaw?
Most certainly, I think he's a very good footballer. I did see him a few times when he was at Leeds, and he's a good player. The Leeds fans loved him. Really good set piece taker as well, which again should take a bit of pressure off Tavernier. Have a little bit of variety, but it should open up a little bit as well for Raskin. I liked towards the end of last season, he was getting forward, he was getting assists, he was getting goals. So hopefully between the three of them, and that's where Diamandi plays better as well further forward. He's not a defensive midfielder. And I think Russell Martin said it in one of his press conferences. He doesn't want to see Diamandi running about the park like a headless chicken, tackling and winning the ball back. He wants him to be the playmaker, the one who's making things happen. So I'm excited to see that. I really am. So it's not going to click straight away. There's going to be little bits of bedding in, but if that's a three that it's look like it's going to be, then get them working together, give them a bit of time, and then hopefully we'll see a good unit there in the middle of the park, because that's where games are won and lost, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Potentially a bit of a contentious one now. Do we expect the fans to be behind the team, or is there maybe a concern that a bit like that pre-season game, if we don't get off to a flyer, that there's going to be kind of mumps and grumps from the stands? Sorry, Jock, I'll put that one to you, mate.
I think the pre-season game is different because we were coming in at 2-0 down. I don't, hope we don't go 2-0 down tonight, or whatever. Big uphill, task. But the team showed that second half. They showed a grit, and they made the changes, and they brought in the right personnel that was able to claw their way back into the game. And they started the strongest team. That the club Bruisley are in talks to sign some guy for £16 million. They're a well equipped team, and I think maybe it was just maybe a bit of short sightedness at that point. It was just the first game at Ibrox. I think the players maybe deserved a wee bit more credit, especially after the hard pre-season they had. And it was the same when the reaction for the Barnsley game when we drew 1-1 Barnsley. The boys were running their socks off in 30-degree heat for a week. I wouldn't fancy playing in 90 minutes after that. So I do think But it's the first game of the season. I think there'll be a good sort of fanfare at the ground tonight. I think the fans will get behind them and back them, and they need to realise that this style of football that's coming in does carry a lot of risk, but the reward's there as well, and it's a double-edged sword again in terms of this is a new system that these guys are trying to do and try to shift the ball with their feet at the back quite quickly. There's going to be a lot of heart and mouth moments, I think, this season. And I think it's just something that as we bring in the better quality player that is equipped to deal with that, I think we'll reap the benefits of it. So I think it's something the fans just need to buy into and just be a wee bit patient with, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And just kind of looking at that defence, it is quite new. It feels a bit more solid for me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Tomo. I think it's awful early to make that judgment, but just the actual physicality of the players that we've got now, for me, feels like it's gone up a level. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we're going to have to see what happens, but certainly the stature of the players that we've signed are bigger. We've been a big critics of the likes of Ben Davies, Robin Propper, who I don't think are bad footballers. I just don't think they were suited to the rough and tumble of the Scottish game. We seem to have signed players who are that little bit bigger and a little bit more probably ready to handle the big strikers who come in and throw the weight about. So I think the proof will be in the pudding tonight. But the look of the players that we've signed certainly goes down what you say there, Dave, about being stronger, being a bit more physical, and I'm all for that. Impose yourself early on, and that's what we need to do. And hopefully we'll see Aarons and Tavernier getting up and down the park, and providing the chances. Because I think that's how Russell Martin wants us to play, with a little bit more of an inverted fullback.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Jock, I don't think there was ever any real debate. I mean, Martin had already said that the other two were behind. Danilo obviously comes into this one starting. Again, kind of looking around the socials, etc., there seems to be a bit of debate about him. For me, I thought he's had a really good preseason. Obviously, we haven't seen masses of it, but from what we have seen and heard, I'm not sure that he could have done an awful lot more. Are you quite content with him leading the line tonight?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not like they've got any other choice in the matter, but he's had a strong pre-season. And the season that we signed him, he had a strong pre-season as well. And he started off flying for us, and then he fractured his jaw. He fractured his cheek. It's one of those things. And then he comes back and he starts doing well again, and then he gets another injury. He's just not had any luck at all. But there's a quality player in there, and we've seen that in glimpses last season. And then spells where he gets a run and he starts scoring goals, but then something always happens. I mean, this is the first sort of proper run through pre-season where he's going to come out the other side, flying, scoring goals. And Martin, and plus he says he speaks 5 languages, so he's going to be useful on the football pitch. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that he's come through the pre-season without any injury and he's scoring goals, because it's the sort of form we signed him on. So I'm hoping he can take this chance, because this is his chance. This game and next week and then the following week, he'll have 3 potentially full 90 minutes on his legs, and that gets him well ahead of Dessers and Egerman in terms of game time. So it's his chance, and I'm hoping he takes it.
Yeah, same here, mate. Same here. I'd actually pegged him when we did a breakdown after we'd signed Martin, and I thought he could be one of the ones that benefited the most from Martin coming in, just with the style that he plays and the different attributes. He seems the best fit for me. Right, Tomo, time to put you both on the spot. You can go first. What are we thinking tonight?
I think it's going to be a comfortable 3-0 win to us.
I like it. No nervy starts and having to play catch up.
I think
about yourself, Joe.
I think it's going to be a nervy start, maybe, but I think we'll get into the rhythm, and then I think we'll see it off all right tonight.
Nice. And Jock, what about yourself, mate?
I'm going to go 3-1. I do think they'll score, but I think we'll have. Well, I think us and the crowd, I think, behind them, and I think I'm hoping that the style of play that we're playing is something these guys don't really come up against in their league. Maybe in Europe, but certainly in their league away from home. So I think they're going to probably sit back and try and just take a 0-0. But I think our style of football will hopefully get round that. So I'll go 3-1. So well.
Yeah. I have to admit, I was kind of set on the 3-1 myself. I do think there's I mean, I don't think anyone would argue there is a risk to Martin's brand of football, and a decent team will take a chance against that. But ultimately, teams sitting in wanting a 0-0 is exactly why we signed this guy, for his ability to break them down. So, it is an early test, and he said himself, this isn't going to be the finished squad, but that this is maybe an element where we can see his coaching ability and his ability to impart his ideas to the other players. That could tell us an awful lot. Season defining. Word chucked out there. Anyone actually think this is? Because I'm going to lay my cards on the table. I think it's important, obviously, for the financial aspect. I don't think it's season defining tonight. What about yourself, Joe?
I don't think it's season defining. I think it's like you say, financial side. I think there's a lot riding on it, but I'd imagine the board are probably looking at this and thinking, right, it's his first time European football. It's a relatively new squad with a new brand of football. If we come through this, it's fantastic news. But if we don't, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And looking at the draw, I mean, the draw we have, if we get through this, is far easier than what happens if we drop down, which is just shows you how bonkers the state of European football is at the moment. But obviously, Champions League is where we want to be. It's the table we want to be dining at. I just think if we don't get there, it's not the end of the world, because Europa League football's our bread and butter, really, and has been for a couple of years. So it's not the end of the world. But certainly it would be nice to get through, to get that Champions League revenue and hear that music playing again.
Absolutely. And Tom, same question to yourself, mate, just before we finish up. Do you see this as season defining, or just important but not the be all end all?
No, I wouldn't say it's season defining. It's the first game of what is hopefully going to be a very long season. But what I would say is that there's a lot of fans who maybe were enamoured with Russell Martin coming in. So he needs to really get off to a good start to, quell those voices, really. You're only one defeat away from a crisis at Rangers. So, if we get beat, we know what all the headlines will be like. And as Jock said, without wanting to be getting big-headed, we win this tie. We've got a very winnable tie in the next round to get into the playoffs. And then after that, it's whoever you get there. But while I don't think it's season-defining, I think a win and a good performance, something that fans can get on the back of and go, yeah, I can see progress here. I can see what he is wanting to do. I think that'll get a lot of credit in the bank for him. So, as well as obviously wanting Rangers to win, I want us to win for Russell Martin, so that he gets that chance, and he hasn't got all that noise around him if we were to, not win.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for joining, lads. Going to call it there so we can all go and get settled in, ready to watch the game. Hopefully, we'll be back celebrating a victory. Either way, we will be back. Jock will be introducing the post-match. It's 10 o'clock, isn't it, Jock?
I think it's scheduled for 2:15, but depending how long the game goes, when we move it to 10, just make sure.
Yeah, so between 2:15 and 10 o'clock, tune back in, join the team, find out exactly what they thought of the game. Other than that, if you have liked what you've seen, please do like and subscribe. And for now, every night is a Rangers Journal night.